I'm going to talk about. So I was delighted when I was ill the last time for Creative Mornings and couldn't make it, because this theme revival feels like it fits me a whole lot better. So straight off the bat, I'm going to come clean and just talk about the fact that I'm currently surviving cancer. And I've been really, thank you, I've been really open. I've been really open about it on social media. And it's really interesting how some people are quite into it and how some people really are not. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about how some forced action has made me reevaluate my creativity, what I do on a daily basis, what I do with my life. It's not the cancer and the thought of dying, that dramatic as it is, that has sparked off a change for me. It actually was a whole bunch of different things. So I'm going through cancer journey. I'm also trying really hard to create something a bit different and special in Creative Entrepreneurs Club, and we'll all have a good, bad and ugly opinion on that, and that's a good thing. I'm going to be 52 in July. Fucking loving it. Excuse my language. I'm menopausal, I'm divorced, I've been online dating. That's not very smart. Needless to say, younger men, you're welcome. And women, you're more welcome. I just need to caveat that, though. I feel like I'm a godmother for what comes next. The people that were after me, you're welcome. That was way too rude for this early morning, but I think we know where I was going with that. There's lots of things in that I could have given up on, and there's lots of things in that I might have chosen to do differently. And there's a huge amount in that you don't really want to share publicly. And actually, I felt it very important for me as an individual to do that. In my professional life, I've been doing this kind of stuff for 30 years. So yes, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've made some brilliant things happen, and I've had some disasters. Disasters, lost 700 grand once, not a good day. Right? Not a good day, nobody needs that. Nobody needs that in your life. My dad had passed away a week before, and I'm not using that as an excuse because it was already in the offing. But that was a shit week. There was nothing about that week that was good, except from the fact you realise what kind of person you really are. And actually, being very Scottish, right, you don't want to get too above your station. Right? People will just tell you, you can't be too ambitious, Rachel, you can't be too confident, you can't be too aspirational, because that's not how we do things here. Get back in your box, lady. But at the same time, you're not able to fail. Everybody always thinks if you fail, you're never going to work again, apparently. So we've got this awful moment sometimes, culturally, in our country, where you're too scared to fail, and you're too scared to succeed. And so we've got all these incredible people like you lot in the mediocre middle. You're not in the mediocre middle. These incredible people who are really talented, really sparky, really smart, really everything, just not making their full potential. And it's stuff like that gets me out of bed in the morning. I absolutely 100% get a kick of seeing other people succeed. It's the bit that motivates me. And so when you've been doing stuff like this for 30 years, it's dead easy to get jaded. And it's really easy to go, yeah, we tried it that way. Yeah, we've done it this way before. We've done all of those awful words. And there was a moment when I realised that was just an excuse. And it was an excuse because very often you can be ahead of your time. Very often, if you're going to be creative and pioneering, nobody's going to be on that journey with you. Because you're pushing against a door nobody else has seen yet. And you're trying to get through the door and bring everybody with you, but they don't really get it. So actually, being a creative person very often is a very lonely pursuit. And it's a lonely pursuit not because you're on your own, it's a lonely pursuit because you're ahead of the curve. You're doing something exciting and different and brilliant, and the mainstream aren't in there yet. They don't get it. So being on your own is not a bad thing, as long as you understand that you're not alone, and they're two completely different things. And I was really determined at a key point not to get jaded. The amount of people said, yeah, but, Rachel, yeah, but. I just thought, you know what? I'm going into the next chapter of my life. I don't want to do yeah, but. I want to do something exciting and different. And sometimes when you get to a certain age, you've done a certain thing for a certain amount of time, you're supposed to retire gracefully into a moment. So was I going to retire gracefully into Creative Scotland or Glasgow City Council or Edinburgh City Council, be one of those people? I mean, I'd last all of 30 seconds. I am gloriously unemployable. And I'm absolutely delighted with it. I was really ill in the lead up to my 50th birthday, really ill. And nobody could work out what was wrong with me. And it was the usual stuff, oh, you must be menopausal, you must be whatever. And it turned out it was cancer, but they didn't know that. It took ages to get diagnosed. And then when I did get diagnosed, it was a rush. It was an absolute rush on because my tumour was really big. Chemotherapy wouldn't work for the kind of cancer I've got. 1 in 4 people don't need chemotherapy. It's not something that happens all the time. And my cancer is hormonal. So it was surgery or nothing. And I had one of those moments where you start to tell everybody and you start to realise how difficult those kind of conversations are. And I always relate everything back to the leadership journey I've had. So I'm used to having to make difficult decisions. I'm used to being the person in the room that is not liked. I'm used to being the person who has to make the call when nobody else wants to make it and square that circle with myself. I don't like it, but I'm used to it. And that is part of the privilege, I think, of leadership. I've chosen to create something and lead something, so actually it's more bad than good a lot of the time, because that is the kind of choice I've made. So I was used to all of those types of decisions. But what I wasn't ready for, the people that were going to back me and the people that were going to leave me. And it was fascinating the amount of people that decided not to be part of my journey. And it was even more fascinating the amount of people that decided to tell me how my journey should go. Bless them. It's a shame. Poor guys. I do feel bad about some of that, but not really. But there was a defining moment. My ex-husband now decided not to come on that journey with me. Said, it's not for me. This is not how things is going to work. Oh, okay, fine. So that was really, did not see that coming. But actually, I'm thrilled. Because, and this is a really key moment, especially when you're a creative person, you try all the time to convince people, don't you? You're always saying, just please understand my creativity. Please understand my music, my writing, my books, my art. Please understand it. And actually, it's not about that. It's about you as the individual being creative and flourishing in a way where people find you as the person and go, you're the person I want to engage with. We sometimes try too hard to find the people, when actually all we have to do is be, and the people find us. And that's really, really important. There was a defining moment, which is actually quite brutal but funny, and I'm going to share it with you. I went in for my exam to see if I was going to be able to get surgery. You have to get approved for surgery. And I was determined to get approved. I was having absolutely none of it. These are new. You're welcome. I was absolutely determined. The thought of going in and having a mastectomy and not coming out my full self was not something I was prepared to do. And it doesn't matter what any kind of cancer you've got, that's a real kind of right in here, gut-wrenching thing. And because I wasn't able to have chemotherapy, I didn't look like I was ill. I still don't look like I've got cancer. I've got eyebrows. These guys were not going anywhere. I was like, you take my knees, take my boobs, but you're not taking my eyebrows. Like, this is not going to happen. I didn't want to look stereotypically ill. It's a big deal for me. And it was dead interesting the amount of people thought that was vain. It's a whole other chat. So I was in really thinking I'm going to convince the surgeons that I'm the right person for surgery. Treating this as if it was everyday hustle that I'm in all day long. Like, absolutely ludicrous. And I remember going in, and you know that moment, you've never maybe had it, sometimes you lose all sense of dignity. Usually, back in the day for me, it was when there was too much tequila. But now, it's cancer. It's not really the same thing. So I'm in there trying to convince, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, I'm up for the surgery, that's all totally fine. And the surgeon says to me, right, let me see your tummy. I want to see if you can take your tummy to rebuild. Great. And he was like humming and hawing. And he said, let me see your thighs. So I was like, whatever. We're off. Here we go. Take it all. And then he said the thing that I was very proud of. He said, Rachel, there's not enough fat in those things. And in my head, what I heard was, you've got thighs of steel. And I was like, I'm all over this. And then he came up and said, right, okay, we'll take it from your tummy, we'll rebuild. You're not that big anyway. We can handle it. You know that I was having so many mixed emotions. I was like, oh great, oh shit, what? I was great. All of that stuff, some of that conditioned stuff you have, especially as a woman. And then he said, but you need to get your affairs in order. There is a 80% chance you're not going to survive surgery. We can do all of this and get the cancer out, but there's an 80% chance you're not going to survive surgery because it's a big surgery. It's 11 hours on the table. We don't know how your body's going to react to anaesthetic properly. There's going to be 6 of us in the room. We'll do everything we can, but you need to get your affairs in order. And I was like, okay, fine. And I was there on my own the whole time. I was like, okay, fine. And then the most incredible moment happened. Everybody was expecting me to cry, and I didn't cry, right? I'm not that kind of person. I cry at Cagney and Lacey or the John Lewis adverts or something like that, right? I'm that kind of person, proper neurospice going on. And I cry, sis? Oh, I'm all over it. But then the most extraordinary thing happens. Everybody was looking at me, and the nurse said to me, Rachel, on the off chance you do survive surgery, would you like to choose a nipple? And she did that. And there was a nipple drawer. Just a huge nipple drawer. Now, I'm sure the first thing you're thinking is, well, what is the nipple etiquette here? Do you get a new nipple? Do you get a third nipple? Do you get a hairy nipple? I'm like, what's the nipple like? Whose nipples are these? Where did these come from? And I was beside myself. Right? I wasn't laughing because I was hysterical that I might have died. I thought, this is how ludicrous this journey is going to be. And it was at that point I decided that things were going to change up. So I went through revival at that point, I think that was safe to say. So I bought a bank in Banff, a B-listed old RBS bank. I'm currently turning it into a Korean vinyl cafe with recording studio, podcast, film studio, and live workspace above.
Anything else?
Anything else? Creative Entrepreneurs Club has gone global.
Ooh,
we are launching everywhere and anywhere, and I'm determined to bring a community like you guys all together to do some really serious things though. Yes, community, connection, all of that, but actually jobs, work, kicking the arse out of it for that way. I'm good at that and I'm sharing that. We're getting a lot right, we're getting a lot wrong, so please bear with us, but please be part of the journey if you want to. Nobody asks me to exist in that way. Nobody asks for us to create that. We don't receive public money to create a thing. So how I fund it is I do consultancy, pro bono, pressure's on. I do consultancy pro bono, and I donate everything back into the Creative Entrepreneurs Club to make it happen. Because I went through a revival to say, why not? If I'm going out with fireworks. And if I'm not going out, I'm going to build something that I can be proud of. And that's not just stuff, that's a life. We worry so much about the consequences of stuff that doesn't actually matter, that we forget sometimes our own potential is what we need, and self-belief. Just one, before I finish, I just want to share one thing, because I do love it. There's a brilliant piece of research done by Harvard, where they talk about how people are successful. And I talk a lot to creative people about being successful. And creative people go, oh yeah, but you know, it's all about the work. And I'm like, having an aneurysm in the corner. I'm like, the work is beautiful. Like, I get it. But actually it's all about you. You have got skills and talents and attributes that are so powerful. It's like working with elite athletes all the time. And I can say that with a level of confidence because I'm entrepreneur in residence at the Conservatoire of Scotland, and I deal with elite athletes every day. The way people can think and handle problems and be critical thinkers, creative people, is extraordinary. So every other industry wants, but we devalue ourselves in our own space, and we need to not do that. And there's a brilliant piece of research from Harvard University. We talk about what is it that successful people have. And you can go through all of the usual routes: privilege, opportunity, starting point, gender. You can go through all the traditional routes. The one defining thing is grit. It's getting up every day and doing it. It's bouncing back when it's not going your way. It's being resilient when you don't even think. And what I see every day in a very privileged position to spend it with creative people is the amount of grit that creative people have is extraordinary. And you do not give yourself enough credit for that grit, that determination, that ability to change, and that ability to move forward. So, I wanted to share that with you because I'd love it if you all had a moment today, on Friday, where you acknowledged how fabulous you were, acknowledged your true grit in there, and hopefully I'll see you again sometime soon. But thank you for listening.